In this session, we're going to add for example, something that we can summon, and it can detect the closest enemy, and for example, it attacks to them, and then it will disappear after some seconds. To make a summoning being, I've made a ghost and imported here. So I want that the ghost stay in a place, and um, it shoots orb to the closest enemy. So first it calculates which enemy is in its closest distance, and then it shoots. But first, let me make the animations of related to the ghost, and then I'll return. So here's the animations, and this is for when the ghost is instantiated and kind of appear into the scene, and the shooting. Now I will give it a collider. It must have a collider and also not trigger, because I'm going to make it to detect other colliders. So if you kind of deactivate it or make it this trigger, it doesn't work. But as I want that my player or enemy pass through that, then I make a layer, for example, pet. We can make different summoning, and even, so I call them layer pet, and I call it yes. Now go to edit, project setting, physics 2D. If it appears like that, go to this, and okay, pet layer doesn't collide with, for example, the player, the enemy. And then, yes, okay. You can give it a rigid body if you want, but as it is a ghost, and I don't really think that we need that. And I don't want that it takes damage or has any health bar. But just, you can do that. I've learned you in the previous sessions how you can do that. But right now, I just want to teach you something new. How this is gonna appear, and how this is going to detect the closest enemies. And when enemy die, it's dynamically search for another close enemy. And it's gonna shoot this orb, but I have to give it a circle collider 2D. Okay, now let's go and write the code for that. First we write the code, and then I tell you how the player can summon that. I go to this folder and create this thing. For this time it is a ghost. And don't forget to correct your animator. We have shoot and spawning. Here it's animation for spawning, and then it goes idle, and both of them are triggered, and also for shooting. We need the animator. So I say if you don't say private, it means, if you don't say anything, it means private, but I just write that. Animator anim. I want to give it a float cooldown attack. Cooldown attack, for example, every 2 seconds it attacks. And private float timer. Also, the ghost has the lifetime. So only it is active, for example, for 5, 6 seconds or 7. So it will have 3 shoots. Private float lifetime F, and also yes, timer 2. And you can add audio and things like that. And it wants to detect the enemy layer, so I say serialized field, private layer mask, enemy layer. In previous sessions I have explained them in detail, so now I just quickly say them. Okay, so we say anim equals to get components, animator. I want that as soon as it is instantiated, uh, this animation appear, which is the spawn trigger happens. So I say anim.set trigger. Oh, set trigger spawn. And here I say if timer cooldown attack, then it is allowed to attack. I write them so we have everything ready. Timer is 0, and timer plus equal time, that's delta time. And I do that for this, but if timer 2 is more than lifetime, but this time it won't be 0, it just be destroyed. Timer 2, and just destroy. We can give an animation for destroying, but destroy game object. So these are the things that we already know from before. Now we want that it be able to detect enemy from a radius. For example, which is considered his line of sight somehow. So I say serialized field, private float, sight distance. For example, if enemy gets, for example, 8 meters. I say meters is something that you can imagine. 8 meters close to that, then it is aggroed and it would attack. But if enemy is very far from this, for example, more than 8F or 8 meters, then he does nothing and he just stays in idle. This, and also those enemies are considered collider 2D. Check on the closest enemy. So it detects according to their collider. So the enemies must have a collider. So here I write a function, private collider 2D, find closest enemy, which has to return me a collider or the enemy. So collider 2D call, I think physics 2D dot overlap circle all. So it kind of considered a circle around himself, that any enemy that is inside that circle would be, something that you already know. Don't forget to put this, so it is array, because this is all, it means more than one collider would be returned. So I say from the position of the ghost, transform that position, and sight distance, everything that is in that distance, which layer, enemy layer. So it brings me, checks all of them. Then we have for each loop, collider to the call in call and say enemy. I make a variable here, collider to the, for example, closest enemy. At first it is because every time it has to, for example, if the enemy is dead, that enemy, it would be null. So I say C, or the closest enemy would be, it gets the last piece of the array and put it here. And then we say return that. But this is not enough. It doesn't calculate the closest one. It's just iterate through that list and give me the last one. So to calculate that, we need to set a distance that is very, very large distance, infinite, and then compare it to each of this distance between each enemy and the ghost, and then select the closest one. So for example, I say float closest distance is a very big number, math of that infinity. All right. And then here, if we want to calculate the distance between the ghost and each enemy, then here we say float distance equal to vector 2 that distance, yes, transform that position and enemy transform that position. And here we say if their distance less than this, then that is this. Okay, for example, one enemy is 5f, so the closest one would be 5, not this. And then it checks again. If the enemy is 2f away, then it checks. Okay, it was 5 and 2. Yes, 2 is less than 5. So now the closest distance would be 2. But if it is 8, 8 is not less than 2. So it wouldn't consider that. Something like this. And bring it in here. Then it would be that and return it. And now here we say, okay, we have this closest enemy here is equal to, because it returns this, so we simply say equal to this function. Oh, what is that? And then here, okay, you can attack if that, and also closest enemy is not null, so it wouldn't attack when there is nothing. There should be an enemy close by, and the timer must be done more than this, so it would attack. So I say anim.set trigger. It was shoot. And you also need to have a private void at shoot orb. It just instantiate an orb. Instantiate. I didn't give that. So serialized field, private, game object, orb. Oh, what is that? And also transform or place. And then we say instantiate the orb in or place, quaternary identity, Let's have your rotation, original rotation. So just position. And then I should see how much it would delay in the animation. So I also give that delay. So let me go here in this shoot. It takes somehow 0.3 invoke. Uh, shoot orb in 3F, so you have a delay. And the timer would be 0. And then we go and assign this variable. And also I want that it flips toward the enemy, because I don't want that it's an enemies here, so the sprite sheet should flip towards that. So we also write another function, and we say private void flip towards enemy, or the closest enemy, and we should say vector3 local scale is equal to transform that local scale. And I had here vector2 enemy position. And here I say if the enemies are on the right side of the player, so enemy position that x is more than the ghost position. This means that the enemy is on the right. Else, if it's on the left, okay, if it's on the right, then we say local scale that x, because as you remember, we have to change this. So I say is equal to math f dot app, which returns always a positive number, localized scale dot x. Else make it negative, minus. So it would flip to that to the other position. And here we want to say, okay, transform that localized scale is equal to localized scale. And we should call this function like here, say flip towards enemy, closest enemy, that transform that position, because we wanted as a vector2. So we gave it that. And also we should go to the inspector and give them these things. And also I should make the orb. So the ghost goes to ghost. Enemy is enemy. Let's go make a fireplace. Go to animation and see where it should be. So the hand is there. So I'll put the fire or the orb here, instantiated in this place. And I assign that to our place. And also we should give a code to that. We can go to enemy script, projectile. Okay, it gets the players. So let me copy that. I'm bringing it to and make a C sharp, or I don't want that it just directly goes there. I want that it find it, for example, if the enemy is up here, then it shoots towards that. So I paste it here and then we will fix that. For explosion, we don't have animation, so we don't need that. You can make an animation for that, but yes, it has a rigid body. We don't need player. And yes, player. I deleted the player, but it doesn't underline any error because I have to restart the Visual Studio. I don't know what's problem with the Visual Studio 222. I constantly, crashes like that, and I have to restart that. Let's see if it shows the error. Yes, yes. So we somehow should give the direction of that enemy, and let's do that. Instead of player transfer from that position, it should be the closest enemy. So I have to have access to our previous code. So that is private ghost ghost, and say okay, ghost is say no ghost. Let's find object of type um ghost. Okay, I get this one, and I should make the closest enemy. Where is that? Public, so I can have access to that. Let's me say private transform enemy, and here say enemy is um, ghost pet dot closest enemy dot transform. Now here we say pet position, and everything is good. Okay, if it collides to that, if compared, so instead of that, we say that layer is layer mask dot name to layer. We want the enemy layer. Enemy layer. What? Oh, sorry. It is equal to. I think we need more parentheses. Okay, get components. Enemy health. Enemy health. Take damage. Remember, your pet or something that you summon should not overpower the player. So the player would be the main character in your game, something that the real player would rely on. So this pet should not be more powerful than your player. So if it is 5, for example, if your player takes a damage of 30, yes, 5 is good compared to that. We don't have this, and yeah, destroy. Okay, let me also give, what's that? Ah, okay. So let's go here and give the orb to that. And the offsets, let me see for the fmet. The projectile. Where is that? Projectile. What is this? Half. And the speed. Okay, that's fine. And we got the prefab. Um, okay, I make a folder for the pets, different kind of pets that you'll have, and I pull the orb here, and I give it that. And don't do anything with that because it will dynamically will be filled during the game. Okay, let me put the. Where is he? Let's see if it works. Yes, it's shooting toward it, and after some seconds, it will disappear. Let me remove that. Put it somewhere else. Why this doesn't move? Ah, it doesn't have rigid body. Sorry. So you go to player, pet, this, and add the rigid body 2D, and it has no gravity scale. Yes, and it flips toward that. But the orb, let me delete that. I think the orb is very big. What's that? Okay. And the speeds really sucks, so I think that I have to increase the speed more. I disappeared, so I have to be able to dynamically produce that. For example, by summoning. Imagine that we have a scroll. Let me make that art UI. I think I brought that. Yes, I brought that here. Mm, BTN summon, and I give this. So the player would find the scrolls, and if he hits on that, click on that, this is summoned. And let's go to, yes, we need to make a prefab script, movements, make a new key. Just we have it here, Control D, consume scroll, which would be 4 on the keyboard. And let's save it. And here it would be 4. So this for that, and also I need something as a loot. Um, where is that? Loot, yes. And the potion, I add the tag um, scroll. And this. And we have a circle collider for that. Um, so now I need to have something for the uh, doing exactly the same thing for the for that scroll. Okay, to save time, I have done that. So you add a text, you add a counter, and also a sound, and also effect, which was the particle system, and something to save and have the count and to update. And Okay, if player collides to that, it would increase the number and the sound and set in to save the number. What? Oh. And okay, destroy and update. The update is okay, we have a text here. And on consume a scroll. If a scroll is, we don't have any scroll and return, and instead have that effect, particle system, and minus scroll sound, and save. Now, when we click on that, click on the button for the um, someone in this, we have to, okay, when you click on that, it has to instantiate um, serialized field, private, the game object, the ghost or the pet, and private transform what transform ghost place. Ghost in ghost place. No rotation. That position. It has to instantiate the ghost. And then uh, everything is done from here. So let's go to the player. The text is this. The ghost itself. Prefab. Pet. Let's place the ghost here. Delete it. For anything that you want to instantiate, it has to be a prefab. And where is it? Yes, there's a ghost. And the ghost, where to be appear? What is this? Yes, in the fire. No, that's sense. In the melee point, the ghost be spawn, or you can make another transform. But for the speed, to make it faster, just keep it there. And I also correct this and this, give it a sound. I have to find one. And also I have to make a scroll effect as well, or summoning effect on the player. And then everything is done. So let me do that. Okay. And I put the scroll beside myself. Okay, I have one. What? Why is in the air? Okay. Okay, where should instantiate? Instead of the ghost place, we can say the place of the player, transform the position, but I give it X value. For example, go in front of that. And I say plus new vector 3, for example, 2 and X and nothing here. And also you can, for example, add, okay, if it is not jumping, if it is grounded, then summon that. Yeah. And if it collides, it has to be destroyed. So on collision, yes, and destroy to everything that it is done. So that, and I also want to add more enemies so you'd see that it dynamically detects them. Wow, no. Um, so the closest enemy, it doesn't detect that because she doesn't have a collider, I think. Is the mage? Yes, layer name is mage. So you also need, yes, it does that. It attacks it. If you want that, it to be able to attack to the things that doesn't have a collision, but they have a trigger. Let me say on trigger, enter 2D, and also add this because the mage has this kind of collider that is trigger, not the collision. Yes, it's doing perfectly good.